And some of you know me, but then there are a lot of people we are meeting for the first time, albeit virtually, right? I just want to say hello, welcome, great to see you. It's wonderful to see all your faces on the screen, and I appreciate you taking the time to be here. Now, people, so the first thing is, first let me talk about my relationship with Nilesh and the lean movement here, the lean gang, you know, the gang of three who are creating this. Nilesh approached me about a month or so ago saying that, would you like to come and we are doing a conference, a 4-day conference. Would you come down to India and do something for us? And he and I agreed on it. And we agreed on what I was going to do. And then, of course, the coronavirus disrupted everything. It's a very disruptive virus, isn't it? And disrupted everybody. It has disrupted everybody worldwide, not just in India or in the UK here, but everywhere, right? Except Trump. It's not disrupted him yet because he hasn't realized it, but maybe he will soon. So, you know, so we had to cancel everything, or postpone it at the very least. And the postponement, we don't know when it is going to end, as you know. They say 21 days, but I think 21 days will most probably be a little hopeful. So we said, what can we do? How can we support people? How can we help people? So Nilesh suggested that we should do this session and offer it for free to people and see so that people can engage in the conversation. So what can you expect from this, right? Now, most people would like to come to a program like this so they can get some answers. They can get some answers, tips, and solutions to today's threatening, disruptive coronavirus situation that we are facing. The bad news is I don't have any answers. I don't know what we need to do. And I don't think if anybody tells you they know the answer, they're lying to you, because nobody knows the answer what to do. So then what are we doing here together? Why are we meeting together when we have no answers to share? Well, I think Nilesh has sent you a communication in which said that this is going to be an inquiry. Let's get together, put our minds together and our brains together and inquire into this situation and see what we can come up with. So that's what's going to happen here today. We are going to have an inquiry across many different parts of the world, definitely across the UK and India, and in India, many different parts of India. And we will be having a conversation like we are in the same room, like we are in a seminar room. I don't know how many of you are used to Zoom, but it's a very innovative program, platform, and it works really, really well. So having said that, now let me just share my screen with you. Where is it gone? Oh, apologize, yes. I'm a little old for technology, so you'll have to bear with me. Yeah. Share now. I thought I had it on the screen. Ah, there it is, got it. Okay. So, okay, so here we are. So we titled this seminar, Being Powerful in a VUCA World. What does VUCA stand for? It's a US Army acronym that was created many years ago, just before or after the détente or whatever, the breakup of the Soviet Union. and it's called being powerful in a VUCA world. What does VUCA stand for? Volatile. Like it can catch fire anytime. Volatile, very easily, gets into the air, becomes gaseous, and easily catches fire. Volatile. Uncertain. Nobody knows. Who knows? Uncertain. Complex. Lots of different strands woven together. It's not simple, it's complex. And it's ambiguous. Ambiguous like ambiguity. It could be this, or it could be that, 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 or it could be anything. So it's a VUCA world. Now, coronavirus is definitely a VUCA world, but even before coronavirus, we were in a VUCA world. Things were happening so fast. New technology, artificial intelligence, new stuff happening, all that, right? So it was a VUCA world. It will continue to be a VUCA world after we get past coronavirus. And we thought that it'll be useful for us to actually start dealing with something that's not just going to be right now what is troubling us, but something that we might find useful in the future as well. So therefore, we're going to have an inquiry into what is it? What does it take? What could it require? Because we don't know, but what could it require for us so that we can be powerful in a VUCA world, and in this case, the coronavirus world today. So that's what we were talking about. And what's the intended outcome of these 2 hours that we're going to spend together? That people, by people I mean you, not the dogs or cats in your house, but the people are freed up. You experience being free to be creative and fulfilled. Not that you are going to be creative and fulfilled, but you can see that I don't have to be a victim of coronavirus. I am free to create something so that my life can be fulfilled, no matter what the circumstances. So that's the intended outcome, that you are at a place at which you experience being freed up and you can see the possibility of being creative and fulfilled. Now you shift from ego to eco. What do I mean by ego? I mean boundaried, limited. Ego means this is whatever is inside this boundary is me, whatever is outside is not me. So your family could be your ego. There's my family and not my family. There is my religion and not my religion. There is my country and not my country. There is my company and my stakeholders and not my stakeholders. So that's all we are calling ego. So shift from ego, being limited, to eco. Eco is a Greek word which means family. It really means extended family, like we have in India, the Hindu extended families and all the other extended families. That's the word is used, eco. It means that. And here we're talking about having no boundary, being unboundaried, experiencing your identity is not limited to ego or not limited to a boundary, but it gets beyond your home, beyond your family, beyond your job, beyond your country, to the whole world. So to shift from experiencing yourself as this one little person on the planet, having to deal with all these millions of other people who are all out to grab everything, and everything is limited and we can't do anything and all about survival, to shift from that to being able to experience yourself as being open, unboundaried, and to see opportunities in the situations you currently find yourself in. By the way, somebody is scratching something on the screen. I don't know who that is, not me. Sure. See opportunities in the situation they currently find themselves in. They see, yeah, that's good. Thank you for doing that. They see the possibility of creating a new world. I used the word order there, and my wife came in and said, order? That sounds like it's some communist system or something or the other. So I changed the world to system, creating a new world system. Okay. So before we move on to the next slide, before we move on to the next slide, any questions for anybody about what we're doing here? I can take a couple and then we'll have to move on. So anybody?
Yeah, Ferdi, Mukesh here.
Mukesh. Okay, Mukesh. Yeah, hold on a minute. I can't see you, Mukesh. So give me a minute.
Mukesh Patel, Ferdi.
I know, but
Yeah, Mukesh.
okay. Mukesh.
To stop the sharing, you'll see more people, Ferdi.
Right. Okay, good. I think I should stop the sharing. You're right. Stop the sharing. Okay, Vivek, I can see your hand up, but Mukesh is who I'm trying to locate now, right? Gallery view. Mukesh, where art thou, Mukesh?
Yeah, here.
There are so many screens here. I'm going to put it on speaker view, and when you speak, I'll see you. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Mukesh, go ahead, talk.
So creating the opportunities, find themselves in the situation. That's what you actually say.
Right. Creating the opportunities that are in the situation. You don't see those opportunities right now. All you see are problems, difficulties, difficulty. Seeing the opportunity. Everybody, please mute yourself except for whoever was talking now. Was it Mukesh? Yeah, Mukesh.
Mukesh Patel. Yeah.
Yes.
Got it, Ferdi.
So that was clarity. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Anybody else? One other person?
Vivek Dugal.
Vivek Dugal. Vivek, put your microphone on and speak. Everybody else mute your microphone. Anisha, you're going to have to mute your microphone. Raghu, you mute your microphone. Yeah. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, you just explained ego. And eco, I suppose, is just opposite of that?
Yes. Unlimited. Unbounded.
And a wider,
yeah. It's actually a Greek word from which economics come in. Economics means in the old days, in the ancient days, the Greeks, they had these large extended families. And if you were a member of the family, then you become one of the family. You cannot be an individual. You cannot be an identity. You guys know it already in your Hindu undivided families, right? You have to be part of the whole family. In this case, the family is the whole earth. That's what we mean by eco. Okay?
Thank you.
Great. I think I have time for one more, since we're on a roll here. One more person, anything? No. All right. We shall move on then. Okay. So now that is the outcome. That's what we are hoping, intending to produce, okay? We can't guarantee anything, but we are intending to do that. What happened to my thing now? God damn it. Right. Here we go. So now let's see the next one. So I want to introduce you to me and to a few of us and Nilesh, okay? So Nilesh, I'm not talking about Nilesh when I am saying this, although Nilesh can find himself in this as well. But I'm talking about my partners who are Vivek Chopra and Manoj Onkar and myself. We call ourselves Global Transformation Champions. And our work is to transform, and I tried to find the Hindi translation for this, Rupantrit Karna, to alter the complete shape and form of everything, right? To transform the consciousness, Chetna, with which organizations, society, and individuals operate. So what is our mission? What is our work? Our work is to cause transformation. And the transformation of what? The consciousness, how we are conscious, how we are aware. And the Hindi word is Chetna, with which organization, what is the consciousness of the organization? What is the consciousness of the society? And what is the consciousness of the individuals from which they are operating, and to transform that level, to raise that level of consciousness. That's what we're working on. And inside that, we're delivering this program to you just now. Okay? So before we go there, anything for anybody about this particular slide? Anything for anyone? Remember, if you're going to speak, put your microphone on, otherwise put your microphone off, okay? So this must be abundantly clear.
Hello, this is
Yes.
Sriram.
Yes, Sriram.
Yeah, what do you mean by consciousness here?
You know the word, the way we use the word consciousness, what are you conscious of? What is the consciousness of somebody? You could call it. And really it's the level of consciousness. You understand the Hindi word chetna?
Partially.
You're not very clear about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You as a very crude way of saying it is awareness, sensitivity, awareness. So organizations in the old days, they were only conscious of one thing. How do we make more money? Right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, they got to be conscious of a few other things. Who are their stakeholders? What is it they're providing to society? What is their service that they're providing to society? So that's the consciousness. Are you getting some understanding of the word consciousness now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the consciousness of organizations, so that we can, and by transform, I mean totally alter it. There is a way people are seeing it now, widen it. Right now, I would say that the view is from ego, shifted to eco, so that they can expand themselves. So expand organizations, expand society, and expands individuals. Okay? All right, anybody else about this? No. Okay, I'm moving on then. Now let's come to what we're dealing with, okay? This whole thing is about this coronavirus stuff that we're dealing with. So dealing with the disruption of the coronavirus. Now, this is one thing about this coronavirus is, it's the one thing that is truly worldwide, yes? There's no part of the world that's not affected by it. In the UK, we are affected by it. The Prime Minister is down with the coronavirus and his health minister is down with the coronavirus. You know, Angela Merkel was down with the coronavirus. You know, Iran has got terrible coronavirus problem. China is kind of coming out of it. The US has now become the center of the coronavirus epidemic, you know, pandemic. So it's worldwide. And if you look at the word unprecedented, that means has no precedent. Precedent means nothing from the past can compare with it. Just no precedent, unprecedented. So this is unprecedented. So if you look at yourself personally as an individual, in this scenario, what are you dealing with? What are you up against? And what are you dealing with? What am I up against? And what am I dealing with? You know, what is my family up against? And what are we dealing with? We're dealing with anxiety, fear. The fear could be of death, of illness. We'll get sick, then what will happen? Loss of loved ones. Certainly, for everybody, I don't think anybody escapes this. By the way, put your microphone on mute, Ajay. You're still on, and Rajesh, you got your microphone on. You should put it on mute. You know, the future. We're looking at a dismal future, and we're looking at a loss of income. We're looking at how are we going to manage, etc., etc., etc. Have I recreated you? Could you say that that is your situation right now? Yes, no, maybe say something.
Yes.
Or not, nod your head at least, right? Yeah. So now I'm saying, what if we could face all this that we are now confronting, that we want to throw away, push away, get rid of, and really we find we are not able to get rid of it. What if we were able to face it, be with it, without losing power? Right now, we look at it, we think, oh God, what will happen to us? We're in trouble. So if we could be with it without any loss of power, look it in the face. If we were able to be with it, maybe it will transform. It will transform our perception. If we can be with something, it will transform how we see it. It will transform our perception of the situation and of ourselves. We then can see the situation in a different light. So remember, this is a what if. And by the way, the second half of that slide is not a what if, because I have experienced that in many, many, many ways over many, many, many years. And those of you who've done the Landmark Forum, you know that that's what you did. If you were able to face what you hate without loss of power, look it in the face, it actually transforms. And you see it in a different light. You see it differently. So we want to apply this to this unprecedented situation the world is facing in, that you and I are facing in, because the world is facing in it. So that's where we are right now. That's what we want to do. So now the question becomes, how do we do it, right? What could we do? Not how do we do it, but what could we do? What could we deal with, right? So I've got the Hindi word for perception here, anubhuti, right? Is the way you see something. So when you shift your context, when we shift our context, sandarbh, from ego, which is like operating, those of you who are in business and corporates, you know, silos, operating in a silo or with a boundary, operating from mera, mine, hamara, tumhara nahi, ours versus yours. When we shift our context from ego to eco, what is eco? Eco is the collective. Like we're looking at the collective, or we're looking at the family, we're looking at the world, we're looking at samaj. So when we can shift from ego, whatever we're dealing with from ego, from myself, me, mine, to ours, shift that, we can create a new perception of our reality. We can cause a transformation. That's Rupantrit karna. Is that correct? Is that the right word there? Rupantrit karna. That can happen. A transformation can happen, but it happens in the shifting of the context, shifting from ego to eco. So what if instead of a time of fear, this time is a time of opportunity, is an opportunity for transformation, a time for a state change. And here for me, this is the good news. Not just personal state change, which is those of you who've done the Landmark Forum, you've done that. You've transformed yourself. You worked on transforming yourself as an individual and transforming your family. I want a bigger game here, transforming the world, to cause a transformation worldwide, all over the world. So we are looking at shifting ego versus eco, silo versus the whole. Okay. All right. So before we go there now, I'm going to stop the sharing and let's have some dialogue. So what are you hearing? What are the questions you have? What are the arguments you have against it? Anything, whatever. Please feel free. You have to put your microphone on and speak. Yeah, go ahead, speak.
Yeah. What I hear is a 60,000 view from 60,000 feet. Ego, shifting from ego to eco, it's far easily said than done. And that's a very, very high statement. People can can spend their entire life even identifying that they have ego or not. Forget about like overcoming ego.
Right.
Can we look at something more tangible, which is that not at 60,000 or 30,000, but at like 3 feet high, where I can look at it into eye to eye and find a solution or find a tangible thing? Because otherwise, all spiritual gurus also talk about the same thing, that leave your ego. The
Unfortunately,
corporate
we
gurus,
don't.
the
Unfortunately,
corporate
we
gurus
have to.
also talk about the leaving the ego. We all know
Unfortunately,
we have to leave the ego.
Naveen, I'm not talking about leaving the ego. This isn't talking about, we're not talking about what the gurus are talking about. We're not talking about ego in that sense. We're talking about shifting your mindset from one of being limited to myself, to me, or to what you call the tangible, to actually being able to include everything and work from there. Because I promise you, there are no answers. There might be some answers that could apply to some people, but not to the whole world. And therefore, you take that answer and apply it to yourself. But quite possibly in this unprecedented situation, there might be no answer that will apply only to you. The answers that we come up with have to apply to everybody. And from my perspective, this is an opportunity for a worldwide transformation, a worldwide shift in how we look at. I'm going to go through some slides in a few minutes, which will give you some sense of where to look, but nothing tangible, I'm afraid, except to recognize your fear and embrace it. That is tangible. And see what happens when you recognize your fear and embrace it. So Naveen, I don't expect it to satisfy you, but can you let it be?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and hang in here. Maybe something will open up for you. And I understand that, because that is a view that a lot of people have. Nothing wrong with that view, and I understand that view, okay? But great, thank you for expressing it. Somebody else?
Yeah, Ashish here.
Yeah, Sheesh.
Yeah, so when you say like shifting my view from ego to eco, I can see my self-quarantine as not from like I can see that it was a problem for me to be a self-quarantined. I can see that same thing I can see as like I'm contributing to society, not being outside in the world.
Brilliant. Well said. Brilliant. See, that's a shift in context. Yeah. Suddenly this thing called, "Arey, andar hone ka, hey, baaz ye ka, what can I do?" That, all that disappears.
Disappears, and I can really feel from myself that I'm contributing to the society.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And nothing has changed. You're still indoors. You're still stuck inside. Yeah, but everything has changed. See, that's what we call transformation. Nothing changes. Everything changes.
Yeah, and just imagining this is giving me goosebumps right now. Just sitting in my. Yeah, this is the shift that I'm creating right now.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you for
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashish. Somebody else?
Yeah, this side RP thing.
Yes, RP.
Just can you elaborate in terms of in terms of sales for the salesperson, how transformation will be from the ego to eco?
I think for a salesperson is fundamental, even if you didn't have coronavirus, because the problem with sales training, it's all been training the salesperson how to get the order. It's like, I remember as a child, you go to a shoe shop in the old days, they will let you try the shoes because the salesman used to get commission. Even if the shoes don't fit, it's the wrong size. He'll say, no, we put an insole, we'll do this, we'll do that, it'll work. No, take it. See, that is ego. Now, true salesperson, real effective salesperson has the interests of the customer at heart and sees and looks to see what is it the customer wants, not what is the product I want to sell, but what is it the customer wants, and is there any way the needs of the customer can be fulfilled through my product? If it isn't, you say, no, I'm sorry, it won't be fulfilled by me. You can go somewhere else. But most salespeople are taught, don't do that. But that's called service. So that is being, I think that is how, I think it's fundamental for any salesperson to be able to operate from eco, not just from ego. Does that make sense to you, Harpi?
Yeah.
Great. Good question, by the way. Thank you.
Hi, Ferdi. I wanted to ask a question.
I'm so glad, Medha, because we need some diversity here. There's all the men asking the question. Go for it.
So my question is that is shifting the context from ego to eco about doing my bit in the current scenario? So as a family, yesterday we sat down and decided that we'll not stop the pay of our helpers.
Right.
So is this what it is about?
Well, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to turn the question around and ask you, what do you think?
So I think for starters, it is about it.
I agree. I agree. It's not only looking, mera paisa mere jeb mein hoga. I'm looking at other people's needs as well without worrying about, see, that's the difference between scarcity and abundance. When things are scarce, everybody's grabbing it for themselves. When there's an abundance of it, you don't have to grab because you know you will get, everybody will get.
Right.
Good. Very good. So then I'm going to move on, all right? Is it all right if I move on, guys? So now, I want to, one of the things I'm doing is, and I don't want to promote it in the program, but I want to use this, that's why I got it here, is this is, you could say this is like a ravine. Can you see a ravine? Can you see two mountains and a gap in between? So it's like we are standing on one mountain on the left. That is our present. And we have arrived there by walking through the past. There we are. And then across the chasm, across the ravine, we want to get to the other side. So this is about getting from here to there. How does one get from here to there? So now, if you look at the world today, if you look at coronavirus, I mean, if I'm looking I'm living in the UK, we had an election in December and the Conservative Party won. And it won from against the Labour Party. The Labour Party was asking the government to nationalize the railways, to nationalize the buses, to give money to people, to not keep it jammed up. And the Conservatives who won the election, they were saying, no, there's no magic money tree. You don't shake the tree and money falls on. We don't have the money. We can't do it. Well, today, they're doing exactly that. They're giving out money like it's lying in the bucket there. Take one bucket, take another bucket. The very same thing that the Labour Party was asking for, they are doing now, because if they don't do it, we'll all be flat. So now, whether that's going to happen after this virus is over, who knows? But at least right now, money has appeared where there was no money. It's not that money was lying in the ground and somebody dug it up. It is a matter of context. I know when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, but my parents always said, if you need money, you get it. If you need it for health purposes, you will find it. You'll be able to spend it. If you need it for education purposes, you'll find it. So when you need the money, you will find the money. It's there. So in this picture, you see that the world is over here. And it seems like the world wants to jump across to here. Now, what is this other place? It's the eco place. This is the ego place. The world has been operating for centuries, as the gentleman who shared first said. It's all been about me, 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 me. How am I going to get me be better? and gurus and some good people have said change, do something else, but it hasn't worked. But that's because there is a system. You understand system? Underneath everything, there is a system. Things work inside a system. Sorry, somebody said something? Things work inside a system. And until we alter the system, we won't be able to jump across that chasm. So let me just talk about a few things here. Now, I want you to see these three little mountains, okay? Consider that they are really part of a huge iceberg. There's a huge iceberg. And in an iceberg, you understand iceberg, barf in the sea, right? Samudra mein barf, right? That's the iceberg, am I right? So 90% of an iceberg is under the water, 10% is above the water. So we are normally dealing with what is above the water because that's what we see. We don't deal with what is underneath, which is what is impacting what is above. So if you look at the world today, I think most people agree on what the problems are, although most people don't agree on what the solutions are. But they all agree that these are the problems. There are three basic problems I'm going to talk about here. One is the ecological divide. By divide, I mean separation. There's a separation between ourselves and nature. We are not connected to nature, generally speaking, as a system. So there is an ecological divide. There's also a social divide. There is a separation between the rich and the poor, where the money is and where the money isn't. There's that separation. And then there is the spiritual divide, where we are separated from our own self, from our own true self. There's a separation between ourselves and our true self. So let's examine these divides, okay? The ecological divide, it's called what? Anybody? What do you think it is? It is being talked about and discussed and all that. What's it? What is the ecological divide? And it's not a class. I mean, it's evident. Before this big problem of coronavirus, that was the main problem. What is that?
Hi, Ferdi. I guess as we do not interact with the nature anymore. We do not have that self of connection with the nature anymore.
And as a result of that, Kaushak, what problems have we got?
There are a lot of, basically the nature imbalance which is there,
climate change, right? What they're talking about, climate change.
The breathing air which we have, that is also not
Delhi air, which has now become cleaner.
Exactly.
Right.
Which has become due to the less pollution onto the roads. That's why.
Yeah. Meda?
So it is also about having so many choices yet finite resources.
Right. So it is a function of the ecological divide, is the divide between ourselves and nature, as Kaushak has said. Here, this picture is a picture of what it looks like. It's called 1.5. 1.5. You know what it means? There is one planet and we are consuming 1.5 planet. See, the planet can regenerate itself. There's a certain capacity for regeneration the planet has. Let's say that's 1. But we are consuming 1.5. So a lot of you are entrepreneurs, and the biggest thing for a business person is growth. You got to grow. You don't grow, you're going to be in trouble. So we've got this paradigm of infinite growth. My friends, the planet is limited. You cannot grow infinitely because you're going to consume resources infinitely, and the planet cannot regenerate those resources. So this whole growth paradigm If you're a business person and you're not growing, you think you're in trouble. You're a country and you're not growing, you think you're in trouble. GDP growth, right? You think you're in trouble. So no one's working on sustainability. They're working on growth because it's a business imperative. But it's a model that's driving us into the ground, has already driven us into the ground. They say we got 3 more years before we're going to destroy ourselves. So we can't make ourselves back again. But that's the thing, 1.5. I'd like you to think of the number as 1.5 planets. Now, somebody could say, like Vivek or somebody who came in first, can say, what could I do? Well, there's some little bit you can do, but that's not going to help the planet completely. It's got to be worldwide. The solution has to be, you've got to play your part, but your part alone is not going to solve the problem. So that's one problem. That's a separation between ourselves, humanity, self, and nature. There's a separation there. I like the way Kaushik said it. Perfect. Now there's another divide. That's this one. See, this is a bus. There are 62 people you can generally get in a bus. In Indian buses, you can get more people, but because everyone gets jammed like sardines. But generally speaking, say 62 people in a bus. 62 millionaires, multi-billionaires in the world own as much as the last half of society. That's called inequitable distribution. So can you imagine 62 people own most of the wealth in the world? And those 62 people don't include the millionaires and billionaires in India, or maybe it includes 1 or 2 of them. But there is a gradual thing, but most of it is the top layer, 1% they call it. They own most of everything and they won't let go. And then there is the rest of the planet right there in the bottom. And this is leading to a lot of problems. And right now you can see this is going to get worse with the coronavirus thing, because those who have money will survive. They can pay for the ventilators, they can pay for the and the others will die. And those who got money will survive, not being able to go to work and get locked out. And those who don't have money will not. And by the way, your money for most of you won't last that long either. It might last longer than the guy in the slums, but it is limited. So that's the second one. The separation between ourselves and our neighbors, ourselves and society, ourselves and humanity. So that is where it's ego versus eco again. And then the last one, what's happened here? Sorry. The last one is a separation between ourselves and ourselves. What do I mean by that? Well, you wake up in the morning before this coronavirus and you went to work. And you went to work and you were working the whole time. Did you enjoy your work? Do you think it was great? Do you think it's lovely? Or were you going to work because you had to pay the rent? Because you have to pay the tuition fees, because you have to buy clothes, because you have to buy food, because you have to pay for your car, whatever it is. You're not doing it because you love to do it. So most of us are not in a job. You may be, but most of us are not in a job. We don't spend 8 hours a day doing something we enjoy doing. We spend it with our boss telling us that someone is doing, concern about not meeting the target, concern about this, concern about that. That's what it's all about. So as a result of it, we are not happy with ourselves because we're not connected to our own inner self. Do you know that in the year 2010, more people committed suicide, killed themselves, than were killed in wars, famines, and all that? In the whole world, more people killed themselves than were killed by others. That's the state of our relationship with ourselves. So we are creating, as a collective, as a group, as a society, we are creating problems that nobody wants. Nobody wants these problems. Nobody wants a climate change problem. Nobody wants to have this inequity between people. Nobody wants to not enjoy themselves and have a good life and all that. But we are creating it. We are living it because we feel we have no choice. And in many ways, we don't have a choice. We only have a choice when we all agree that this thing needs to change. Or not all, but most people agree that this needs to change. So I'm just going to stop it here for a bit and give you an opportunity to share or ask questions or whatever. So, anything you want to say?
Yeah, this is Sriram.
Yeah, Sriram.
You said that there is a ecological divide and that's causing a lot of issues. Now,
Right.
anything that we want to do, even whether it is to, you know, whether it's to afforestation or, cleaning up the air or the water, anything like this, it still requires changes at the lowest level individually. Now, the question would be, how do you take it to a higher level from the lowest level to the highest level? Now, we can speak with, our own community members and then we can expand it. But all this takes a lot of time. And unless there is a big calamity like the coronavirus, people don't tend to get together. It's only driven by a need rather than a want.
Yeah, because it's eco. I mean, it's ego, not eco. So it needs to shift. Do you agree that it needs to shift?
Yes.
Yeah, and your question is, how do you make it shift?
Yeah.
Right. My answer is, I don't know. But I know that we need to make a shift. And I decided that I would conduct programs like these and talk to people and keep talking to people and keep talking to people. And maybe they will talk to somebody else and they will talk to somebody else and maybe something will happen.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Then,
anything else? Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. The second one, where, most of the wealth of the world is actually with the 1%.
Right.
And they are creating systems, if not just in one or two countries, most of the countries where the wealth transfer continues to keep happening only to them.
Right.
The rules are made that way.
Right.
And it will continue to be made that way until, of course, someone does something about it. And again, this is a game of the system. It's not really up to an individual person.
There are pockets in the world and groups of people in the world. See, this is a function of people taking economics as a science. They believe that, whatever the guy said about growth and this and that and all the rest of it, that is like gravity or like science and it follows certain laws. And the truth is, it's not. So there is an economic model which is based on growth. And you go to any university, any school where you're studying economics 101 will be that model. But that model is false. It's not true. It's like the model of the earth is flat. It's not round. It is going to require understanding that model is inaccurate. That's not correct. And it's got to be, there needs to come into existence other models of economics. And there are other models of economics that are coming up. I don't know whether you've heard of donut economics. A donut has a hole in the middle. So a donut and solid thing. So in donut economics, it's an economics of sustainability. If you go outside a donut, the planet gets destroyed. The growth and all that, you go for that, planet gets destroyed. If you go into the hole, people get destroyed, the poor. So it's how do we keep it inside that donut area? And people are working out systems and structures to do that. I don't know whether you've heard of this thing called a universal basic income, UBI. Universal basic income is something the government gives its citizens because they're a citizen. They don't have to be poor. They don't have to be anything. They just get that money. And if they get in, and if that money is sufficient to a certain degree, it'll free them up to do other things that they want to do. Now, that is not fully accepted because people have this idea of some scarcity, some this, some that. And so some people say, rubbish, it can't happen. Some people say, you should try it. Let's see what happens. In any case, you're doing it now because you're giving the money away. This is an opportunity to experiment with it. So there are things and people and thinkers in the world who are thinking. It'll be useful for you to start to get engaged in what are the other models of economics? What is the thought in the world? What is the thinking in the world? So that you start to get privy to it. And you know, India has got some of the best brains in the world, besides the Chinese. But unfortunately, the people all look inside that model, right? If they open their mind and start to take on the other model, you know, a lot of you are entrepreneurs, you know, and your business is designed around a particular model, which is based on growth and which is actually manipulative of nature and of people. And if you start to be like Medha and her family started to look at what should we do? Should we keep paying people now and this time? You start to look at it from another perspective, the eco perspective. Things may happen, but it'll happen like a, you know, when the snow falls down the mountain, what avalanche, right? Avalanche of snow, one little thing, then another little thing, and another, then gathers momentum and causes a huge ball of snow to come rolling down the mountain. So that kind of thing could happen. We're not saying it's guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed, but could happen like that. Okay? Yeah, Medha. Thanks, Medha.
So I have this question that how does consciousness, you know, fit into sustainability?
Well, if you're asleep, you're not going to see any of this, are you?
Right.
So you got to be conscious. That is what consciousness is, being awake, knowing what's happening around you, and expanding your consciousness, expanding your wakefulness, being more and more awake, being more and more. But it's a good question, Medha, very good question. Great.
So as far as I understand consciousness, it is looking at in this moment.
Not necessary. Don't look at it that way. You can look at it that way, but I'm not talking about it that way. I'm talking about another way of saying is being mindful. Well, you could say mindful is about the moment, but also being mindful of other people, being mindful of society. You know, if you're riding a motorbike, the back of it, there is all that fumes coming out, right? Or let's say you're driving your car and it is giving all that. At the back of it comes the motorcyclist or the cyclist. He's eating all that that smoke you're putting out there, right? But in the cost of the petrol, no one's including the cost of his healthcare cost and the nation's healthcare cost because of pollution and cleaning up. That's not included in the cost of petrol. If it was included in the cost of petrol, no one would be able to afford petrol.
Right.
So these are just some thought ideas, some thinking. And someday something will happen. I believe it will.
Okay. I have a question. These 62 people in the bus, the millionaires who rule the world, and the petrol economy which we have, because I would like to not use petrol, but unfortunately there is no other option which is there. There are many other people like United Nations, UNESCO, WHO, multiple other global organizations who have been at work for decades, if not centuries right now. How do we break the stronghold of the 62 people who will not let changes happen because their ego cannot be altered, and we are the ones who are facing their...
Naveen, I know I was interrupting you there. I apologize. There are two things. One is the 62 millionaires, and the other one is the multi-billionaires, actually. And the other one is fossil fuels. You know, already fossil fuels are being rolled out. It is already on its way out. The tide has turned for that. Now it'll take some time. Will it turn fast enough so the planet will be saved? We don't know, but that has moved. I don't know if you're aware of it. If you got stocks in petrol and all that, I suggest you sell them at the earliest possible opportunity, because they're going to go off, right? Same thing with pharmaceuticals and what do you call them? Pharmaceuticals jam the medicines by having proprietary.
The plastics and the petrol, all of them. Yeah.
No, but I'm talking about I'm talking about medicines, proprietary medicines. That whole thing is a little behind fossil fuels, but that will also go off because it's somebody making money for bullshit. Right? And even the guy who actually invented it doesn't get the money. It's only the company who gets the money because they bought it from the guy. So that whole inequity, that whole notion of inequity is starting to become unsustainable. And it's starting to become unsustainable because people are talking to people like you and getting them to start to think for themselves rather than think along the lines of whatever society says we should think. Okay, so I think, and the last thing I would say is, I don't think these 62 millionaires want to cause the problems they're causing. They're just thoughtless. They're not thinking about it, or they don't even see that that's what they're doing, or they don't see, that's the consciousness. They don't see what is happening. And at some point, the pressure of the world gets them to see. Okay, so we can only hope, right? I know millions of years, but not millions of years with petrol, okay? It's only since petrol came into existence. That is maybe 100 years or so, 200 maybe. It looks like it was there forever, right? No, it hasn't been there forever. And this economic model we have of growth has not been there forever. Okay, so we got half an hour? No, how much time have we got?
May I?
It's a 2-hour session, Ferdi.
Yeah, I know. What time are we going to finish?
6 o'clock.
We got another hour. Great. Yes, please.
One more hour.
You raise your hand. Yes, please. Go ahead.
So, like what I got from this conversation about the ecological divide is, like, we don't want it, whether it be with our nature or with the society or with ourselves. So,
right.
But we are so absent to it.
Yes.
We are doing it unconsciously or subconsciously. So once we start getting present to it, or with consciousness, we can transform.
Yeah, see, one thing that India can do immediately. You got plenty of energy. More energy than a lot of other people have. Where is it coming from? What is the energy excess that India has? Sorry?
Solar energy.
Yeah, solar.
Solar.
If you guys turn to solar, now the big problem is it's expensive. Solar cells are expensive. Solar cells can't be made. So that's the same model of economics. And we got to do private enterprise. So private people have to do it. It can't be public sector. Therefore, they have to have profits. Therefore, some percentage has to go in their pocket. Or public sector things don't work. Public sector thing is a waste. People waste that. All of which are notions and rubbish. While some of that is true, that doesn't have to be what defines us, limits us. So if you guys started to look around, I live in England and I am seriously considering getting a solar panel for my house because they've got a design now that you can get enough energy with all the cloud. You know, if you look out of my house now, you see it's clouded. All the clouds and everything else, there's still enough energy coming in here. And the excess energy, they've designed a little app and little something that takes the excess energy and trades it into the grid. So you get paid for feeding your excess energy. Plus there are batteries, and the batteries get charged at the time when the rate of electricity is low. In the nighttime, where very few people are using it, it's low. In the daytime, when everybody's using it, it's more expensive. So you charge your batteries when it's a low rate, and you use them when it's a high rate. All those things are happening. We got some of the people who worked with us in the programs we've run who are into green technology, and green technology is starting to come in. And so you get involved with green technology, you start to look around how you can consume it, what you can do with it. Can you put on a solar panel in your house? I don't mean the solar panel for hot water. I'm talking about actual solar panel that generates electricity. If you put it up in your building, what would happen? How much would it cost the whole building together? What would happen? Like that. And of course, electric cars are coming in. Yes, Vivek.
Yeah, just to, another way to answer your questions, all of you are asking this question. See, this is not about you or me individually doing something alone. Whatever is happening on the planet, we are collectively doing it. We are collectively creating the results. It's like all of us together are collectively creating that result. If we have to transform it, we have to collectively transform it. And if we operate from ego, that is, I have to fix it, or you have to fix it, that's still ego. When we get together, we can collectively fix it as an eco team. And one of the things that global transformation champions that we as a group are intending to do is to create leadership that thinks from eco. It doesn't mean that they're individuals. They are people who are working with other people, creating something together. And each of you have thousands of people around you. You are connected to so many people in your lives. Together, you could create a lot of things. And there are skills that are needed. There are things that are needed to be able to do that. That's all that we do in our programs. And this program is just the beginning of that. Definitely.
Great. And by the way, see, I can hear an echo. And the echo is because somebody's got their microphone on. If you all put your microphone off, the echo disappears, okay? All right, so let's move on, shall we? You guys ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, then. Now, I want to show you a video, okay? Now, this is a video of when man first went to the moon. They didn't land, they circled around, right? And one of the people there decided, looked at the earth and saw the earth and said, oh, wow, we never see this. What would it be like? Let me show the people on earth what earth looks like. Before that, nobody had any idea. So I'm going to just show you this and then we'll take some sharing after that, okay? Can you hear?
In 1968, Apollo 8 went to the moon.
Forget about a transcript. Some of the words are wrong.
They didn't land, but they did circle the moon. And I was watching it on television, and at a certain point, one of the astronauts casually said, we're going to turn the camera around and show you the Earth. And he did. And that was the first time I had ever seen the planet hanging in space like that. And it was profound.
I think that for me, like for many other people, it was quite a shock. I don't think any of us had any expectations about how it would give us such a different perspective. I think the focus had been, we're going to the stars, we're going to the other planets, and suddenly we look back at ourselves and it seems to imply a new kind of self-awareness.
One of the astronauts said, when we originally went to the moon, our total focus was on the moon. We weren't thinking about looking back at the Earth. But now that we've done it, that may well have been the most important reason we went.
describe what I've seen. You know, looking down at the Earth and you see that line that separates day into night slowly moving across the planet. Thunderstorms on the horizon casting these long shadows as the sun sets. And then watching the Earth come alive. And you see the lights from the cities and the towns.
Oh, has it stopped?
Yeah, it stopped, Ferdi.
Yes, sir, isn't working.
I wonder why. Hold on.
Sure.
Yeah, now it's...
The events you see from space, like flying over thunderstorms, looking at them from the top, were spectacular. Like a fireworks show going on, and you're looking at it from the very top.
You know, shooting stars going below us, or you know, dancing curtains of auroras. It's just very hard to describe all the, you know, the colors, the beauty, the motion.
My job as lunar module pilot was to be responsible for the lunar module itself and responsible for the science on the moon. So when we started home, I had a little more time to look out the window than the other guys because most of my responsibilities were completed. We were in a particular mode called the barbecue mode. So we were flying like this and rotating like that. What that caused to happen was every 2 minutes, a picture of the Earth, the moon, the sun, and a 360-degree panorama of the heavens appeared in the spacecraft window. And I had studied astronomy, and I had studied cosmology, and fully understood that the molecules in my body, and the molecules in my partner's bodies, and in the spacecraft, had been prototyped in some ancient generation of stars. In other words, it was pretty obvious from those descriptions we're stardust. Well, that was pretty awesome and powerful, particularly since I had a little more time at this point to be reflective and to think about it.
When we look down at the Earth from space, you know, we see this amazing, indescribably beautiful planet. It looks like a living, breathing organism, but it also, at the same time, looks extremely fragile.
Because you go outside on a clear day and it's the big blue sky, and it's like it goes on forever, right? And how could we possibly, you know, put enough stuff into it to fill it up with things that really change it? And yet, you see it from space, and it's this thin line which is just barely hugging the surface of the planet.
Anybody else who's ever gone to space says the same thing, because it really is striking and it's really sobering to see this paper-thin layer and to realize that that little paper-thin layer is all that protects every living thing on Earth from death, basically, from the harshness of space.
There's this very poetic concept that a lot of people express, that there are no boundaries from space. And I've heard a lot of my astronaut colleagues say that. Unfortunately, it's not true. You do see boundaries. They're mostly the result of human impact. You can see erosion, clear-cutting of forests, and you know, it's a long litany of environmental impact that we've had on our planet, and that's something which, when you see it from a cosmic perspective, makes you really appreciate the concept of spaceship Earth, and that we're all here together.
We humans are responsible for ourselves, and if we are endangering our future, then we've got to learn how to do it differently and to go forward into a sustainable period. And right now, that seems very difficult to see how it's going to be, but we've got to work on it.
When I was above the space station, looking down at the space station, looking down at the, you know, against the Earth, and seeing this, you know, amazing accomplishment, you know, I was thinking, wow, you know, there was 15 nations that worked together to build this amazing orbital complex in space. And if we can, you know, take these 15 nations and do this amazing accomplishment, imagine what we can do by working together, by setting aside our differences for a common goal to overcome some of the challenges facing our planet.
We have this connection to Earth. I mean, it's our home. And I don't know how you can come back and not, in some way be changed. It may be subtle. You see differences in, different people in the just general response when they come back from space. But I think collectively, everybody has that emblazoned on their memories, the way the planet looks. You can't take that lightly. It really, you realize that you've been blessed by the opportunity to see that.
It really does look like this beautiful oasis out in the middle of nothingness. If you have a chance for your eyes to adjust and you can actually see the stars in the Milky Way, it's this oasis against the backdrop of infinity, of this just, enormous universe behind it. And it's, really a very moving experience to be able to see that with your eyes.
You look back at it and it's placed perfectly from the sun to take care of us, and you kind of take that reverse roll on about, okay, well, we need to be taking care of it too, so that it can continue to do that for us. And I don't know how you can't have a greater appreciation for it after you see it that way.
So how was that for you? Sharing, not questions, sharing. Somebody's got their microphone on and there's a gentleman speaking in the background having an argument. So please put your microphone on mute if you're not speaking. Thank you. Right, so anybody would like to share? Anybody would like to share what that was like for you?
That was
Let's come back on.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was super beautiful.
It was amazing.
Great, great.
So it suddenly wants you to make you believe. It tells you that there is a beautiful outing out there. Let's believe.
Yes.
It's a summary of what we have all been discussing until now. It summarizes.
Yes, it is, isn't it? It is.
It's like, having a
one
gratitude
view
towards
of
what
we have out there makes you feel that it's so precious that let's just fix it. Let's fix ourselves, actually.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very good. Very, very good.
So what I got was that everything has its own purpose, and it, makes me believe more now in the F word, that is faith.
Great. Very good. Someone else? Who else? By the way, excuse me, there is somebody who is not conscious right now of what's happening in the background, because there's speaking in the background, and all you have to do is mute yourself, okay? So that we cannot be disturbed while we are listening to other people share. Please go ahead. Who was next?
Yeah,
somebody was about to say.
Here. Like the video was beautiful, but what I saw that the context of going moon was only at the certain point for going to moon.
Yes.
When they shifted the context, let us look at the Earth.
Yeah.
And the whole new world of actions, we could see what can we do for the world.
Beautiful.
So what I'm thinking is the context, shift of context.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
And just like the context, like our life is driven by context only, and we just need to work on our context.
Absolutely. And we need to know we have the power to shift context.
And there is one more thing that we should be very grateful that what we have.
Yeah,
grateful for what we have. Great. Got it.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We thought you'd like this video.
I would like you to share with us also.
The video, you should be able to get a, I can send a link to Nilesh and then you can send it to you. You can have this. This is from the program we're doing.
We are planetary.
Yeah, the program that we are doing is based on work by Dr. Otto Schama. Okay. And he is from MIT. And he's created this whole thing called the U theory, which is how do you get across the chasm from one side to the other. And really what he's talking about is an emerging future. He says there is a future that is wanting to emerge, not a future that you want, I want, or someone else wants. There's a new future that's wanting to emerge. Can we be, it's like it's midwife, the midwife for the future that wants to emerge. Can we listen keenly for what is it that wants to emerge, especially in this time of the coronavirus? There are so many new things that are opening up, working from home, working together, being responsible for each other, universal basic income, economic, so many other possibilities are opening up. Now, it could be that all those possibilities and opportunities might disappear because the window opens and then it shuts. But if we pay attention and we can see the door opening, we can put our foot in it so the door doesn't shut and something else can be possible. So the question really I have for you, and I don't want you to answer it, but I think it's useful, is what's possible out of the coronavirus? What is possible now that wasn't possible before? What could we do? What could we take on? And starting with our family, our maids and people at home, but going beyond that and beyond that to our country, to our city. Like, see, there's less pollution. So is it possible to maintain that? Is it possible? So the important thing is not to fight with people over it. No. Some people say, no, it's not possible. What about us? We'll lose all our income and No, can we actually work together in dialogue and make something new happen? Okay. So we conduct a program, which if any of you are interested, let us know. And all three of us are also executive coaches. We work with people in businesses as coaches. If you want to hire us, you're welcome to get in touch with us. But we are really interested in developing new kind of leadership for the emerging future, for a future that wants to emerge around us. And how do we become catalysts or leaders for that kind of future? Okay. All right. Somebody else?
Yeah, hi, Ferdi. Can I ask?
Hi, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is slightly different. It is about the previous slide of yours, which is talking about that the wealth of the planet is with few people. Mm-hmm. So, what we are talking about in this conversation is to create a shift in the consciousness. Yes. To eco. So yes. In that case, can we just figure out the consciousness of these few people and just spread that consciousness to the entire community, so that once they get the same kind of consciousness and the same kind of methodology, and they can create that kind of wealth, and then by doing this,
there isn't enough wealth for everybody to create that. What they're doing is they're grabbing stuff to themselves. Mm-hmm. So that excludes others. So you're going to create more people who are going to grab things to themselves, so that people are going to fight with each other. No,
it's not that.
You need.
It's not that everybody is going to have the similar kind of wealth. It is just that they.
Manoj.
Yeah.
Did you see the shots of the space station?
Yeah.
International Space Station. I didn't know. I heard the word, but I didn't know what it was. Right. And once I started doing this and watched the video, I got really interested in it. There are many different countries have worked together to create the International Space Station. And they have contributed in working together, countries working together to make that happen. That's what we need. We don't need to investigate 62 people to see how they made a lot of money so that everybody else can make a lot of money. Money is useless, not worth anything. It's only worth something when there isn't enough of something. But when there's enough of it, money is not important. What is important is wealth. And wealth doesn't have to do with money. Wealth can be your health, can be your wealth. Yeah, your children can be your wealth.
I got your point. My point is not only money. It's about that we can spread the similar consciousness with few people have. It's not in the domain of money only.
I believe that what they have created is a function of unconsciousness, not consciousness.
Okay.
So I wouldn't want to spread that around.
Mm-hmm.
Spread more unawareness and unconsciousness and selfishness and unwillingness to consider other people's perspective. I don't want to spread that around. Do you?
I don't really buy this, that if someone who has created that wealth, it is all by doing the wrong things. Maybe they have.
I didn't say by doing the wrong things.
Oh.
I said by being focused on themselves, not others, not the world. By operating from the context of ego, not eco.
Got that.
That's all that I'm saying. You shift from ego to eco. You don't want to find, oh, these guys have become multimillionaires. Let us see how we can become. There are so many programs that are running that tell you how to do that. I wonder whether anybody has become a multimillionaire doing that. Right? And even if they have, so what? What is more important is, can we create, they got an index called, what is that? Gross national product, GN, what is it? GDP, right?
Gross domestic product.
Yeah. Well, in Bhutan, they got gross happiness project. Thing.
Yeah. They are ahead of the rest.
Yeah, you can see whether people can be happy. Because you get all that money, all those people who have all that money, they have these major divorces and then they separate the money out. And then they go to court to fight. I'm not saying that, by the way. Some of them are nice people. Look at what's his name,
Warren
Microsoft
Buffett.
Guy. Huh?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett or Microsoft fellow, Bill Gates or other people. They are. It's not that. It's the system we're talking about. And the system, if you look in today's, they talk about competition, right? Competitiveness. Competition is good, right? Well, the truth is, in competition, one person finally becomes the biggest. And everybody then has to break down and disappear. Look at Google, look at Apple, look at any, somebody has a mechanic shop. Another one forms a 10 mechanic shop and then 100. Then the guy cannot get any customers to come to his shop because this big fellow can get everything cheaper than the small guy. That is what competition does. Instead of competition, you could look at cooperation. There are a lot of you who are entrepreneurs. You can look at...
Ferdi, can I say something?
Yeah, before that. Entrepreneurs, you can look at doing your business from an eco perspective rather than an ego perspective. And what will that provide for you? What will it do for you? And for that, you need, and Vivek can tell you more when he starts talking in a minute, you need some skills and competencies and abilities that you right now are not taught to people because they're not important. But if you could run your business from an eco model, a model that's sustainable, model that makes a difference to the world, model in which you can get a sufficient income for yourself and you're not in scarcity in any way, and it's sustainable for you and for others, what would that be like?
Freddie, I want to share one thing about this model stuff.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
See, the past 2 months, I was forming a setup that was related to farming, agriculture. So the past 2 months and this Corona thing, when it got happened, me and my investor had a word about like what we were going to do about the people. So the government in India, they have exempted us from all the lockdowns. And today we had a discussion and we said to each other that the coming 10 years, these farmers or these agriculture people, they're going to contribute huge to the economy because everything is dependent upon the food. And we are going to be a contribution to them. So it feels really, powerful and very empowered that we will be able to contribute to the system. And that was a thought being completely worked out in the past 3 months on daily basis. And even everything is shut, but we are on.
Great.
That is something, feels very good from inner side.
Good for you. Good for you. Vivek was going to say something and I stopped him.
So one of the things is this, that we are not out to spread consciousness. You know, all these last 5,000 years, people have been spreading consciousness. किसी ने अपने दिमाग में सोच लिया कि जो मैं सोच रहा हूँ वो सही है, और फिर वो सबको जाके बताता कि ऐसा ही करना है, मेरा फॉलोअर बन जाओ. 62 लोगों ने इतने पैसे कमा लिए, अब सबको उनके जैसे बनना है. नहीं, हम वो बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. We are not out to spread some consciousness. What we are saying is that, look, whenever you decide on something, suppose you're deciding on your business and the way it's going to operate, what is the basis of that? Is the basis of that your vision, your personal thought, your personal desires, your personal opinions? Or do you include the opinions of other people in come to a co-creative decision? Or do you decide solo on your own? How many decisions are being created by keeping all the stakeholders in mind? And are the stakeholders involved in creating that decision, or is the person who's sitting on top, the authority, saying मैंने decide किया है क्योंकि मेरा पैसा है, मैंने पैसा डाला है? That is ego. When it is one person deciding or one person trying to push something in somebody's way, कि ऐसा करना है, वैसा करना है, that is absolutely not what we are interested in doing in our programs. We will not tell you what to do. We will keep showing you the mirror. कि is your decision ego or is it eco? And is it working or is it not working? If it's not working and you find it's ego, then you know why it's not working. And unconsciously, collectively, all the people working in your team, in your organization, are collectively creating results nobody wants. The businesses are not producing the result that the business wants. Why is that? Maybe because there is one authority telling everybody, you have to do it my way. We did this course with a computer company, a software and a hardware selling company in Delhi. And one of the regional managers of that company from Bombay, he had come to do the course. I met him after 1.5 months. 1.5 months later, he told me, boss, aapko pata nahi kya ho gaya hai. I have started listening to my team. And my team members and I, we spend time listening to each other and we are coming up with creative solutions. And within 1.5 months, I have doubled the sales. We never did that course for him to double sales. We are not even interested in whether he doubles sales. We are interested in that he has a sustainable model where he works together and that he's listening and they're working together. They're co-creating solutions. And that's the opportunity of this training that we're talking about, is that you start to raise your own awareness, your own consciousness by allowing yourself to be contributed to by the world around you, by your stakeholders, by your team members, by your clients. Most organizations don't even listen to the customer. Most men don't listen to their wives. Most women don't listen to their husbands. Right? And you all know that. I mean, if your son or daughter came and told you something, the chances that you'll really listen is about like 4% or 6%. 95% of the time, they go away. I know better than you. But actually engaging in a conversation where you're listening to each other, and it's something you need to develop. It's not something you have as an ingrained, inborn ability. By default, we just don't listen. So really, this is what we're talking about is really, eco really means together we will work it out. And we will look at the best solution for which is best for all people. Best for all stakeholders. Not that it will be bad for you and good for your customer, or it will be good for you and bad for your customer, or it's good for your employees and bad for the company. No. You have to work it out, create it together. Even a decision, I'm telling you right now, even a decision of a man saying, I will pay salaries, even if I destroy my finances, I'll pay the salaries of my employees full. Maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe he should talk to his employees and say, can we work it out? What is the best solution? Rather than suo moto take a decision. When you actually work it out together, you actually come up with the best solution because it's a team coming up with a solution and not one person. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, what I want to do is I want to shift the conversation now to having a look at what do you see about your current situation, the coronavirus situation, what you find yourself in. You're not limited to that, but let's have a look at that. And what can be possible? What do you see are the new possibilities that are arising for you as you engage in this conversation? So, anybody would like to open the innings? So in the current situation we all find ourselves in, you find yourself in, when you walked in here, it looked one way. Now, how's it looking? Do you see any possibilities you didn't see before? Any openings that you didn't see before? That's what I'm inviting you to share, okay?
I would like to, hi Ferdi, I would like to raise an example.
I'm afraid that your
different concept.
Your internet connection is not
There's
too
this
good.
game of
I'm sorry, I didn't catch anything you said because you kept going in and out. Your internet connection was not good.
Is it now? Am I audible
Yeah,
now,
now
Ferdi?
it is, yes, yes. And what you
I
can
was
do
trying
is,
to quote.
what you can do is put off your videos if that kind of thing happens and just use the sound. Go ahead.
Okay. I would like to quote this one example of one of our CMs, Chief Ministers of UP. He's Mr. Adityanath, Yogi Adityanath. What he was doing that there are a lot of people who are daily wagers in India. And with the present scenario, they are not even having some of these unfortunate people, they are not having this opportunity of even getting the one-time food for themselves. So there are a lot of people, he's one of the examples, and there are a lot of people who are coming up and they are kind of preparing the food for all of these people, totally hygienical point of view, and really helpful for all these people. And they are providing this food to all of them. There are a lot of people who are working along. So this is one situation where we are looking beyond our own selves and looking after the society in particular. So this is one of the examples from ego to eco.
Yeah, very
which,
good.
I consider to be prevalent in the present scenario with the COVID-19 situation.
Okay,
so I
very
guess
good.
this is one of the good examples in that.
Thank you for sharing that. That's great. Somebody else?
Ferdi, Apnita here.
Yes, please.
So before we had this conversation, all that I could think of was doing good. Do the right thing, do the good thing, right? But what I'm seeing now is collectively we can do good.
Abhinita, once again, your sound is gone. I think it's become 5:30 and everybody's gone on the internet or something. Will you guys turn off your videos? Let's see if the sound becomes better. Just turn off your video.
Am I audible now?
Now you're all audible. Go ahead.
Is it better now? Am I audible?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right. So one of the biggest things I'm beginning to notice is that more than any other inconvenience that we're facing, we actually miss being with people.
Mm-hmm.
And survival is like personal survival is beginning to lose its significance when I see that all our lives are at stake.
Yes.
So I actually see the possibility of creating like a network of partnerships and putting aside, things that we tend to protect, like we're over hoarding, we're hoarding groceries, we're penny pinching. That stops to become that's not looking like a problem anymore.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well said. Great. Anything else for you? Are you done?
Can I share?
You can, but I think somebody else had come on before you just now. Let that person share and you can share, okay? Yes.
Yeah, hi. Well, I have a couple of, Subhash, hi. Well, I have a couple of observations. One, it is on the front of, our social ecological balance, in current kind of a, lifestyle or, even, living stuff, we, most of us, including me, myself as well, we are into a rat race, which is, never ending. And, this action has badly impacted on our social ecological balance. Starting from our family, spouses don't have, time for each other. Parent does not have time for the parents, kids. Upgrowing up, even small babies. I'm not talking about teenage kids or something like that. People don't have time for their parents, whether in-laws or self parents. Social brother sister, brother everything, everything which fits into an social ecological psychology or sphere or a pie. That is, we as humans are actually solely responsible to damage that. And probably that is this is the time, maybe something from up there, from the supreme power, we get that kind of hint to fix that. That is one part of my thought. Second is, if we talk of on the other front, or on a different front, or a front B, if we talk of teamwork, if we talk of having views from all of your stakeholders, which are whose voice is important in any kind of a decision. So I am here, sub part A, I'm here glad to state that most of on a professional front, most of my key stakeholders of my team are part of this 100 people. We whenever we have to have a decision on a professional front as a team, we do adhere and respect each other's views, and then only we take it forward. It's not it's not on a I should give an example. It's not on a Hitler kind of a stuff. No, I'm me being the leader of my team, or me being the head of my team, whatever way we can define it. So it is not one to all that whatever I decide we go do it that way. We do discuss problems within our key team members, stakeholders, and accordingly we arrive at a consensus, and then accordingly we take it forward. So these are my two key takeaways, from this discussion, from this meeting, or from the situation perception going all around.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Manoj, it's your turn.
Yeah, hi, Ferdi. But if I take it, this situation as a very big opportunity for my self-development growth, because this, I would never see this happening again in my life, where I'll be locked down for 21 days or more than that. And
I hope not.
And I hope we should not go for that. So I would just encourage everyone that, this time is very, very important in our life, where we can do all that stuff which we have not been doing for years. And
right.
So I have my own things to do, that I'll be completing my book and creating a lot of podcasts and a lot of stuff I'm doing, which I'm into. Second thing is that this is an opportunity for us to create empathy with our partners, with our clients. So all my sales team is completely involved in calling the clients and just checking if they're all right. We are in the business of freight forwarding. So all their imports and exports are getting stuck. So we are just talking to them how we can help them. And we are even offering them, if they need more masks and all that, if we can send them. So that's an opportunity for us to create a relationship to a different level.
Very
and
good.
Third opportunity for us in this situation is trading of products. Like we are selling a lot of masks now. Like we are exporting a lot of masks, buying and selling and all that. So that is given us the financial gains also. So it all has come just by thinking how we can create, shift this situation into some possibilities for us. And so this has been my take from this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Manoj. Okay, somebody else? Somebody who hasn't shared yet?
So,
hello.
Yes.
This is Raghu Ramalingam from Chennai.
Yes, Raghu.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, and we are so lucky. We are all the graduates. We are having the opportunity, and we see the possibility. And a lot of people, those who have not done that, they are suffering from the depression, fear, anxiety. And my commitment is from this moment, not from my ego, and contributing for the ECO eco. Now I am committed to share and also being responsible for that.
Very
Thank you
good.
very much, Ferdi.
You're welcome, Raghu. Thank you for sharing that. Somebody else, it was Galaxy J6. I thought you were going to share and then.
Yeah, can I share? Sriram here.
Yes, Sriram, go ahead.
So one thing is there's been a lot of ego battle going on wherever I am. It's time to shift that to an eco model, and to do that we can bridge it through a spiritual and ecological. Right now, when you were sharing about what can be done that will create a sustainable model for development, that is something that was very powerful for me. And I'm now looking at regarding with the coronavirus, how I can do that where I am, either for my company or at home or for my apartments. So that is something that I would be working on. I don't have an exact answer for it now, but it was an access to deal with that. And one thing it will definitely require is, right now there's a lot of there's lack of cooperation where people are. Some people in our apartments have been cooperating with one another, but there's been a lot of fights with regards to people traveling from abroad, and a lot of fear of the coronavirus. So cooperating with people to build something that will help deal with the coronavirus is something that would actually help.
Very good. Great. Great. Thank you very much. Somebody
Hi,
else?
Ferdi.
Yes,
Yeah, I
Ashish
would
Modi
like to.
here. Yes,
Ferdi
Ashish
Sandeep
Modi here.
Dhingra.
Yeah, and then I heard some lady's voice. Who was it?
Yeah, it's Chavi.
Okay, you can share after him. Let him share first. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, Ferdi, what I'm looking at is right now, coronavirus situation is a practice ground from intentionally breaking my pattern of ego to eco.
Fantastic.
And that will actually affect, like, give me some access to deal with the corona situation.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
Yeah,
Great.
that's what I'm
Thank you.
saying, yeah. I'll take it this corona situation as a practice ground to breaking my pattern. Yeah.
You heard you. Terrific.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Hi, Ferdi. Can I
Sheesh,
share now?
yeah, you. No, there was a lady who wanted to share, but
Shall we
before
go-
that, there is Chuck the Spices. Can you mute your sound because it's disturbing the call? Yeah, thank you. Yes, who was it? Who was?
Hello, yeah. Hi, Ferdi. This is Chavi here.
Yes,
So for
Chavi.
me, the basic challenge that all of us are facing right now is working physically, because we are a lot used to of being dependent on others for our daily chores. So I talk to everybody and anybody around me. The basic challenge is, oh my God, we're working on our own. Everything we are doing on our own. So taking this as an opportunity, we can inculcate this culture of working on our own physically, like doing the daily chores. Maybe we can give our maid an off once a week. And this opportunity is also leading us to bond in the families. Like, I live in a joint family with 3 generations, so I see my niece also working, my husband also working. All of us are sitting together, figuring daily activities, daily responsibilities, which is also sort of creating a bond between us. So we should take this time to physically and mentally and emotionally bond with each other.
Fantastic.
I'm not sure if we'll get this long period to be with each other. So this is a very positive thing for me, which because we are at home, we are under one roof, we are playing games, we are emotionally connecting with each other.
Fantastic.
So I think this should be further inculcated.
Chavi, that's great. That's very good. Thank you for sharing that.
Ferdi, Vaishali Gandhi here. Can
Yes,
I
Vaishali.
share?
Yes, please.
Yes. This is opportunity for my project. I am working for hygienic food in clean kitchen from last 5 years, and I am enrolling people. Be aware for hygiene, and this is opportunity for my project of that Hygiene India. People are aware about the hygienic things, about importance of that, and this is opportunity for my project, and that my aim to become this Hygiene India, where everybody get hygienic food. This is the
Fantastic.
biggest opportunity. And one
Lovely.
more thing, what I got, I love to sing, and from these things, I'm giving to time for singing and the things what I love to do.
Wonderful.
And
Brilliant.
Ferdi, can I say now?
Yes.
Sandeep
Yes,
Dhingra?
please, Sandeep, go ahead.
Yeah. See, that's for sure that the world after Corona will be seen as a different world altogether. The world after Corona, I think what we have learned is that you have to give time to yourself. In fact, everybody is talking about that they have to upgrade their skills, which we have never given our time ever, never thought of. Because even if we have thought, we didn't have the time. But I think this is the opportunity which will make us sure that we are independent of the location that we are working on. We might be moving to a different kind of a culture where the office going might not be there, or maybe independent for these kind of things can happen at any point of time in future. So we'll be totally resistant to these kind of hazardous. That's the future. Maybe for anything comes up new, we might have to adjust themselves. But I think it will be a different world. People will become more evolved towards surrounding. Everybody is talking about some of the other things for the society. I can just share one of the example. I missed out. I have a fish aquarium. I missed out to have some food storage for it. I just wrote it one of my group in my society, and everybody was there to help, and they didn't even take any money. So they have gone beyond money now. So the money is not because they know that money is not important now. It is something else they are just working on. So that connect. I think we're going back to basics, which is much more important.
Wonderful. Wonderful. There's one thing I just realized. By the way, can you hear somebody in the background? Somebody's not being conscious of their microphone.
Vaishali, could you go on mute?
Right. So I'm thinking, Delhi was so badly polluted and now it isn't. So what if a lot of companies and a lot of individuals started to... Vaishali, mute yourself. Mute yourself, Vaishali. What if we started to, a lot of people and the companies encouraged working from home? You can imagine the traveling that people are doing on their bikes and their cars. They wouldn't do that. The time that would be saved if people work from home as much as possible. So there is possibility of reducing the pollution in Delhi after the coronavirus just by making some changes in the working habits. Just a thought. I don't know. I don't live there, so I may be wrong. Okay.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, Ferdi. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, Ferdi.
Can I just let Sushmita finish and then I'll have you, okay, Archana?
Hi, Ferdi. Hi. Good evening. In fact, since the time Corona has started, I'm just realizing God has, in a very bad way, but God has given us time to feel that peace which every human being has been craving for, I don't know, for years.
Yes.
And that is something we should learn to absorb it, which we are still not doing. We are still finding way to get, involved and do. Of course, we are humans, we are restless by nature. But we should also learn to absorb that peace which had left our lives.
Very good. Well said. Well said. And I wouldn't say we should. I would say we now could.
Yes, now we could, yes.
Yeah, we can do that. It's possible. We've seen that it's possible. Thank you, Sushmita. Archana.
Yeah, hi, Ferdi. So
Hi.
I've been a bit unfortunate today, though I've introduced 50 plus people from my life to this conversation. And I was unlucky to have not been able to join your conversation. And I did ask one of my colleagues to just pick up a bite of what she could, and probably some bit of 2 minutes of video that she shared, and that was about the ego and the eco. So I got the gist of the whole conversation, but because now we are ending, and it would be very nice if we could do a short recap. And
Well, one thing you could do, by the way, is ask Nilesh to see if he can send you the video. So
right.
Then you can
do
watch
that, but it would be very interesting if you just did a short recap in terms of, but I could pen down my...
I think it's brilliant. Let me do it. Let me do it, okay? Because I think, in fact, we've got another 10, 12 minutes, and I would like to recap. I think it's perfect that you're asking that. Would you mind if I interrupted you and did the recap?
No, so I just share a bit. So I've just been on the conversation for the last 10 minutes, and I
Right.
just written down, a brief, done a SWOT analysis in the present scenario.
Right.
Looking at, again, the organization, its strengths presently, not from anything to do with the past.
Right.
Present strengths and the present weaknesses and the opportunities and the threat. So
Right.
it was very interesting to see that, initially one could see lots of stuff, but now it's very sorted. So it's very interesting to see there's a lot of sorting that has already happened.
Very good.
So that I
Very
feel
good.
is one advantage here, because one has an opportunity to completely look at things from a very fresh perspective. So while one is dealing with the personal front in a very different way and the professional also. So there's nothing like what was in the past, right? In both the cases. So which is one great opportunity that I see. And I think now I'd like you to just do a recap.
Very good. Archana, thank you so much for that. That is very well done. So I'm just going to go quickly through the slides because I think it allows people to to do what you asked me to do. So the intended outcome. So anyway, let me just go before that. What we said this was about is being powerful in a VUCA world. By VUCA, we mean volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Coronavirus is definitely that, but even before the coronavirus, this was all there. And we said what we intend, that's now at 12:30, in 5 minutes, Sam. People are freed up to be creative and fulfilled. I hope that you got some of that at least, that they shift from ego to eco, that is from limited, ego like limited, to unboundaried, and see opportunities in the situation they currently find themselves in. They see the possibility of creating a whole new world system. I am interested that you focus not just on yourself and your organization, but on what we can create in the world itself. And then we introduced ourselves as global transformation champions. And we said our work is to transform, Rupantrit Karna, the consciousness, Chetna, with which organizations, society, and individuals operate. And we'd like you to take this on for yourself. You do that too for the whole world. That'd be fantastic. And we said that we started with, where are we? We are dealing with anxiety, fear, loss of income, dismal future, how are we going to manage, etc., etc., etc. And I said that if you are able to face this without losing power, look it in the face, that is what will transform our perception of the situation and of ourselves. We then see the situation and ourselves in a different light. And I hope you actually can see that. And then we talked about what is perception, anubhuti, and in shifting our context at our sandarbh from ego, which is silo, boundary, mine, ours, to eco, the collective, the world, samaj, samajit, we can create a new perception of our reality. We can cause a transformation, Rupantrit Karna. And then we said, what if instead of a time of fear, today, this was an opportunity for transformation, a time for a state change, both personal and worldwide. A shift from ego to eco, silo to the whole. And then we talked about that if we look at the situation today, it's like we are on this side of the chasm and we are getting ready to jump across to the other side. Whatever that other side is, we don't know what it is. And then I actually talked about the three divides that are existing right now, the ecological divide, the social divide, the spiritual divide. The ecological divide is ourself, the separation between ourselves and nature. The social divide is the separation between ourselves and the other person. And the spiritual divide is the separation between ourself and ourself, our real self. And then we talked about, if you look at the ecological divide, it is signified by the number 1.5. We have one planet and we are using 1.5 planets as a resource. So the planet can regenerate itself, say 1, but we are consuming 1.5. So we're creating a problem for ourselves. And the second divide, the social divide, is like 62 people in a bus own as much as half of humanity. So there's a skewed relationship between wealth and ownership of wealth and in the world itself. And that is causing problems, which if we don't deal with, it'll be like the climate change, it'll hit us over the head at some point. And then finally, we said there is a difference between the self and the self. There are more suicides in 2010, and I think even this year, there were many more people committed suicide, killed themselves, than were killed by others in wars and murder and mayhem and all that illness. More people killed themselves than were killed by others, except of course this coronavirus now, but that might skew it in another direction. And then we showed you the video of, and you're not going to do that now, but the video of man going to the moon, where he got a, and then I don't think I showed you the slide, but I'm interested in developing leadership for the emerging future. That is, that people develop competencies and capacities necessary to be a new kind of leader, to be a leader from the emerging future. And one of the things they have to be able to do is to hold a space for innovation, creativity, and collaboration. And then we didn't do this one. So that's it, guys. Now, I know we're already time to, if you want to contact me, then you can contact Manoj Omkar. You can contact Nilesh, because Nilesh is our main guy, and you all know Nilesh. But you can also call Manoj Omkar. This is the number. Vivek Chopra, this is the number. Okay, that was a quick review, just in time. And I hope, who was that?
Vivek.
Don't go beyond the time, Vivek.
No, just 30 seconds. Just to share with everybody, the examples we shared about things that are happening, which is the ecological divide and the economic or the self versus other, the social divide. These are not the only examples of the divide. There are many, many examples of that. So whether it's ecologic, whether it is social divide, us versus them, this fighting of one party with another, like there's so much of stuff going on between different people. All of this is all part of it. Just wanted to let you know that this is not the only issue at 62 people who got lots of money.
All right. So we really do need to move on, Vivek. Okay. And Nilesh, over to you so you can wrap it all up.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a wonderful session with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ferdi.
Thank you. Wish you the good luck.
Glad you liked it.
Thanks, Ferdi.
So,
too much.
one more thing.
Thank you, Ferdi, Nilesh. Thanks a lot for giving this opportunity.
Same session. We will create same session for the remaining people, because more than 783 people registered for this session and only 100 people are able to attend this session. So 683 people were trying continuously to log in and they were not able to log in this session. So I really apologize for not causing this result for everybody. I really apologize. We have a line for 1500 people, still there was a breakdown. So nothing to worry. We'll create this session once again with the Ferdi. At the same time, my special thanks to each one of you, because this is the first time we created a webinar and like almost close to 800 people registered is something new reality emerged. It's never ever happened in my life till now. So right now it's 6 p.m. We will close this session quickly. I'm special thanks to Ferdi for creating. I'm requesting Ferdi to create one more session for the rest of the people, because they are really demanding too much on me right now.
Nilesh sir, hello Nilesh sir.
Thank you so much, Nilesh, for your love.
Thank you, Nilesh.
Nilesh sir, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Nilesh.
Thank you, sir.
Everyone. Thank you, Nilesh. Thank you, Ferdi.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye, Nilesh. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nilesh, sir.
Thank you, Nilesh, sir, for such a lovely session.
नीलेश जी,
It's amazing contribution.
संडे
Thanks, Nilesh. Thanks, Ferdi.
हमारा रेगुलर जूम कॉल होगा?
नहीं मैडम,
कल नहीं होगा ना, मंडे होगा.
हाँ.
मंडे 3.
Yeah.
Nilesh sir, I just have one request. It would be delighted if you please share the video link with us so that I can share with my colleagues and with my subordinates.
I will find out the way how I can do that. Don't worry. I will make sure that I will serve you.
Else, the video can be shared because